Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Good to see you.
Yes, sir.
Glad you're here.
Yes, sir.
Are you ready for the Word?
Yes, sir.
Turn to 2 Peter 2. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Verse 1. But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the master that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. And many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. Notice that this isn't a warning just about false prophets. This warning is about the damnable heresies that they bring in. And do you see the phrase, privily shall bring in? It comes from one Greek word, a compound word. The prefix means beside. The suffix means to lead or to lead away. It can also mean to drive, as in to drive a herd of sheep. So the warning that Peter's given us here that a false prophet will do is he will come along beside and he will lead people into heresy. He'll come along beside and lead people to heresy. Now, let's remind ourselves of what the word heresy means. What does the word heresy mean?
Sect. A sect.
A sect. It's interesting to me that the translators chose not to translate this Greek word, but instead just to transliterate it. They could have translated it. They did translate it in other places, but here they chose to transliterate it. And by that I just simply mean that in the Greek it's the Greek word heresy, and in English it's the English word heresy. Both, heresy, but they haven't told us what the word means. 6 places in the book of Acts they translated the word instead of transliterated it. 6 places in the book of Acts they translated it as the word sect, which is a proper translation of the word. Here they chose not to do that. I always become suspicious when they do things like that. If the word means sect, then use the word sect.
Right.
It makes me wonder, did they not translate it because they feared it would cause too many people to actually pay heed to the warning that Peter's giving? Think about the warning being given here. False prophets shall come among you and lead you into damnable sects. What is a sect? A group. Listen to this definition. A sect is a group of people with different religious beliefs. A group of people with different religious beliefs. So, false prophets work to lead people into groups that have different religious beliefs. Now, we would call those groups what in our day and time? We wouldn't call them sects. What would we call them?
Denominations.
That's close. That's what I'd have said. But no, denominations.
Yeah.
That's exactly what the word is, denominations. So listen to the definition of heresy again. A heresy is a sect. A sect is a group of people with different religious beliefs. A sect is a denomination.
Yeah.
A group of people with different beliefs.
Right.
The word heresy, the verb of that word actually literally means to choose. It's a choice. So a sect, or if you prefer, maybe you don't prefer, a sect, or more accurately I should say, makes a choice. And the choice is not to say we're not going to believe the Bible. The choice is how much of it are we going to believe. And different denominations, sects, heresies, different groups choose to believe different amounts of what the Bible says. Right?
Right.
And based on your personal choice, your personal preference, you hook up with the denomination that believes the way you want to believe.
Right.
Right? You know, some of them say, well, yeah, we don't believe it's absolutely necessary to believe in a 6-day creation. We're not going to believe that part. Or we don't believe it's absolutely necessary for salvation. It's not necessary to believe that you have to keep the fourth commandment. See? We don't believe you have to. It's not a salvation issue on whether or not that you keep the feast. So if we don't believe that's applicable, it's not a big deal. So they're choosing what's important, choosing what's not important, and that's what creates denominations. Now, listen to the definition of heresy one more time. A heresy is a sect, and a sect is a group of people with different religious beliefs. So now, naturally, we have this question: different how? Different from what? And the answer is found in verse 2. Different from the way of truth.
Right.
The denomination that a false prophet starts, or the denomination a false prophet leads, will speak evil of the way of truth. There is a way of truth, and he'll cause people to speak evil of that. A sect is a group of people who have different religious beliefs than the way of truth. That's why Peter calls their group damnable. Or later there calls it pernicious. Both of them came from the same Greek word. Both of them mean that you have absolutely, or you are destroying, condemning your own soul by being a part of that group. Belonging to a denomination is not a harmless thing to do.
Right.
Right.
If the sect you belong to has different religious beliefs than the way outlined in the way of truth,
Right.
you're a member of a denomination that's bringing to you and to your family utter destruction and damnation. There is the way and there is the truth, and when you walk in the way, which is based on the truth, then the result is the life. I am the way, the truth, the life. But if you don't walk in the way, which is based on the truth, then you can't have the life. When you listen to Isaiah and you listen to the Messiah, they both condemned people for not walking in the truth or the way.
Right.
Both of them did. And they both said to these people, your eyes you have closed, your ears you have stopped, lest you should see with your eyes and hear with your ears and be converted. See, converted means to turn from the path you're walking and to walk in the truth. And Isaiah and Messiah both condemned people and said that the problem is you won't turn from the path that you're walking and walk in the truth, the way of truth, because you're closing your eyes and shutting your ears to it. It's not that it's not out there for you to know, you just don't want to know it, right? It bothers me to quote Taylor Swift, but she has this line in her song, Why You Gotta Be So Mean. She said, you don't know what you don't know, right? Well, that's true, isn't it? We don't know what we don't know. So if you don't know the way of truth and the everything that's associated with it, that's just the way it is. You don't know what you don't know. But how do we gain that knowledge? How do we come to know the way of truth? Well, Isaiah 28 says we do it line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, and there a little. That's the reason it's so important that we meet in an assembly, Sabbath by Sabbath, according to Acts 15, and how Moses read to us, right? Talked to us, so that we can learn it week by week, little by little, line upon line. That's the biblical formula for learning what we don't know. One should not be condemned because they don't know a thing. But one is already condemned when they don't want to know a thing. You know, that well-known passage in Hosea 4 says, my people are destroyed for what? For a lack of knowledge. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Most people know that. But do you know what the next sentence is? Do you know what the next line is? Excuse me? Because they have rejected knowledge. He said, because you've rejected knowledge, I'll also reject you.
Yeah.
Because you have forgotten my instruction, I will also forget you. So they're destroyed for a lack of knowledge, but it's not because the knowledge wasn't there. They rejected the knowledge. They said, we don't want to know it. Forgotten means we took it and put it out of our mind. We didn't want it in our thinking anymore. So they're being destroyed for a lack of knowledge, but it's a lack of knowledge they don't want to know.
Right.
Well, that does bring condemnation. It's understandable if you don't know what you don't know, but it's not understandable, nor is it acceptable to not want to know what you need to know.
Right.
The reason that people stay in denominations that are led by the teaching of false prophets is because they have closed their eyes to the truth and shut their ears to the truth. That's as plainly as I can put it. They've been led astray into this damnation. Here's how you know if somebody has closed their eyes and shut their ears. All you got to do is ask them this. Does the denomination, excuse me, does the denomination that you belong to believe the Bible? And of course they're going to say what?
Yes.
Yes. And then the next question is, well, which parts of it?
Yeah.
Right? And their answer is going to be all of it. And so it's easy then to just follow that up with another question. So do y'all keep the seventh day as a Sabbath?
No.
Right? Do y'all keep the feast of Yahweh? Do you believe that it's okay to have crosses and crucifixes on your walls and on your church buildings? Do you believe that a steeple is okay? Do you know what one is? Do you know why it's there? Now you begin to dig in to see why they become a separated group with different religious beliefs.
Right.
The different religious beliefs is, yeah, we believe all the Bible, except not that part.
Yeah.
Not that section. I told you the story a long time ago about the chairman of the deacons of a local denomination coming to see my dad. And my dad saying to him, they were having a discussion, and my dad saying to him, well, you do believe the Bible, don't you? And the chairman of the deacons of that denomination said, well, most of it.
Wow.
Talking to an unchurched man, said to him, well, most of it.
Wow.
So when people get backed into a corner, that's how you find out, that's how you understand, come to understand why there are so many denominations. Is because the very definition of a denomination is it's a group of people with different religious beliefs. Some have chose to believe this, some have chose to believe this, some have chose to ignore this, some have chose to ignore the other. And you choose how much of it you want to believe, and you choose how much of it you don't want to believe.
Right.
The truth is the truth. There is no such thing as my truth. That's a word you hear thrown around a lot now. Well, my truth. That's impossible.
Right.
There is the truth. No such thing as my truth. Well, it's not hard to be led into deception. All it takes is two things for a person to be led into deception. Number one, they have to not know what the Bible says. And number two, they trust a man standing before them reading the Bible, and they're trusting that he will tell them honestly what the Bible says. And when you don't know the Bible and you trust in the man who's reading the Bible, you can easily be led into deception. That's all it takes to become deceived. It's not hard. But neither is it hard to break free of deception if you want to be free.
Right.
All it takes is to determine that you want to learn, keep, and do what's written.
Right.
And if somebody tells you the Bible says something, all you got to do is be willing to search the Scriptures to find out if what he said is true or not.
Right.
And you'll come right out of deception every time.
Yeah.
Every time. Don't read it for yourself, you'll be led into deception. Read it for yourself, you'll come right out of deception every time. If you determine whatever that says, that's what I'm going to do.
Right.
Right?